Hi everyone, welcome to another Pickups episode, and I thought I didn't have that much to show off in this one, but looking at my backlog here, what I've picked up over the past few months, there was a lot more than what I remembered, so let's get started with some really exciting Game Boy Color games that I bought for my Game Boy Color exclusive video, which is coming very soon. So the first one is a game I've wanted to find for a long time. This is Lufia 3, The Legend Returns. And this one, if you know the Lufia series, they're a fantastic series of RPGs. This one is a little bit different in the fact that it's actually got randomly generated dungeons, which is kind of hit or miss in the fandom because a lot of people really love the dungeon designs of Lufia 2, whereas in this one, yes, they are a little bit more generic, but the gameplay is just as good, the music's fantastic, and it has some of the best graphics on the entire Game Boy Color system. That's as much as I'll say about the game now, but definitely check out my full video on all my favourite Game Boy Color games coming very soon. Another great game that I've been looking for a long time is Crystalis. This is a lot of people's favourite NES game, and they did an incredible job of downscaling that NES experience onto the Game Boy Color. It's a fantastic action RPG. This game to me feels very similar to one of my favourite games on the Sega Master System called Golvelius. This is basically the NES equivalent to that game. It's kind of like Zelda, but also a little bit more action focused. I haven't got very far in it yet, but what I have played seems really good so far. And the other new Game Boy Color game I got is another NES port, and this time it's Dragon Warrior 3, and a lot of people say this is the best Dragon Warrior game on the Game Boy, and so far I'm inclined to agree. The character does move quite fast though, which was a little bit strange to get used to, but the game's amazing obviously, and it came at a perfect time just as the remake's coming out on the Switch, so it'll be really cool to play that and see what's changed in the 20 something years since this original release here. Really happy to have this, and all three of these were complete in box as well. I'm so happy with all of it. And now we come over to a bunch of games that I picked up from the London gaming market, which I was at last weekend. We're starting off here with an N64 game. This is Daikatana, and the reason I got this is because recently I also got the Game Boy Color game and I've been playing that, so I thought it would be really interesting to compare it to the big budget 3D game that the Game Boy Color one was based on, even though apparently the Game Boy Color game is the better of the two. So this is more for curiosity's sake rather than because it's actually a good game, but even so, very curious to see what it's like and also to see why people don't really like it that much too. Now, all the other games that I got from the London gaming market were all for the same system, and that system is the Sega Game Gear, and I've been slowly building up my Sega Game Gear collection for a future video that I've got planned, and the games that I bought are... We'll start off here with Land of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. This was one of my favourite games on the Master System, and apparently this version's a little bit different. I played it a little bit earlier, and I have to say it is very good. It's a solid 60 frames a second. The controls are great. Even though the screen's smaller, it doesn't really feel like you're struggling to see what's ahead. And the levels seem really interesting so far too. I've only played a few of them, but it's definitely one of the best games that I've played on the whole system at the moment. A game that I'm not as fond of, but it's still a classic for the system, so I had to get this one. This is the original Columns, and I'm not a huge fan of Columns, and I was talking about this with someone at the show and basically said it's nowhere near on the same level as a game like Tetris or even a game like Puyo Puyo. It's very, very simple. You basically just have a column, as the name suggests, and you just rotate the 3 blocks. It's very easy, it's very simple, it's very straightforward, and some of the sequels did improve a lot on the formula, but if you just want classic Columns gameplay, you really can't go wrong with this one. Next we have Super Space Invaders, and I didn't know anything about this one. I just picked it up because I thought the cover looked really cool, and it was interesting to see what they've done with Space Invaders on the Game Gear, and from what I can see, it pretty much is regular Space Invaders, except they fire more often, and you don't start with the shields, you actually get them through a power-up as you're playing the game. And then a bit later on, some of the aliens actually expand to fill 2 spaces, so you have to kill them twice. Apart from that, it seems very simple. It doesn't really seem much more than just a regular Space Invaders game, but if you like that kind of game, it seems like a really good version. And then we have an interesting one. This is one that I picked up off my friend Chris from Games You Loved. This is Spider-Man. This is actually the American version of the game. And unfortunately, Chris, I have to say that this game absolutely sucks. I had no idea what to do on it. I couldn't even get past the first screen. I was just beating up police officers, I think, or people who worked in this building, and then I started scaling the walls and people were just throwing things at me and shooting me. I got all the way up to the top, there was nothing to do, so I went all the way back down to the bottom. I couldn't leave the screen, I couldn't go through the door, and that's where I gave up, basically. I played it for like 15 minutes and I could not get out of the first area. Please let me know in the comments, what the hell am I supposed to do in this game? Next is a game that I'd never heard of at all. This is called Putt and Putter, and it turns out that it's actually a really fun, crazy golf style game, and I know my friend Zach from the Beard Gaming would love this one. So Zach, if you're watching, get yourself a Game Gear and get yourself Putt and Putter. You will not be disappointed. It's actually really fun. It reminds me a lot of Kirby's Dream Course, minus all of the crazy transformations. Kind of like how Dream Course was originally going to be a crazy golf game. It's got an isometric viewpoint, and the frame rate's really smooth again. I'm quite impressed with the frame rate on these Game Gear games overall, and although it is fairly difficult, I do see myself going back and playing this one more in the future. And the next Game Gear game we've got here is the original Wonder Boy, and I just have to bring up this insane box art for the game. If anyone's seen Wonder Boy before, you'll know that it's a really nice, cute and colourful 2D platformer, but the box art is just a volcano with an angry face in it. I really don't know what they were thinking with this. Someone on Blue Sky said it's weird as well, and I honestly think the artist had never even seen the game before, because what relevance does this have to Wonder Boy? I have no clue whatsoever. Like, look at the screenshots on the back in comparison. That is just whiplash, completely. But the game's great. It's a very simple platformer. It kind of reminds me of an auto-scroller, even though it's not. You can't go backwards, you can only move forwards, but you can actually choose the speed that you move, and you can move backwards, you just can't push the screen back any more than you can. I don't know why, but it feels like an auto-scroller to me. I've always felt a little bit weird about this game and this series in general, but it is really fun. It's just classic arcade goodness, but I just cannot get past how weird this box art is. Now, next is an interesting bunch of games, and I'm not going to go into all of them, but these are all for the PlayStation 3, and I wasn't expecting to buy any of these, which is what makes it so interesting. So, at my local community centre just down the road, they were having a little boot sale day where, you know, families can go and set up a table and sell little bits and pieces, and we walked around the main room, and it was mostly just junk or like stuff out of old people's houses and things like that. And as we were leaving, we went to the cafe area, and there was a bunch of DVDs on the table, and I looked a bit closer, and it wasn't just DVDs, it was also PlayStation 3 games, and they had all of these here, and they were only charging 50 pence each, so I bought as many as I could with the money that I had with me. So I haven't actually played any of these just yet, but these were all the ones that I didn't own that were on the table. So we have Formula 1 2003. Let me know in the comments whether you've played any of these. Let me know whether they're any good. We have Uncharted 3, which of course is very, very good, and I did play this one when it came out, but I never actually owned my own copy of it. I only ever owned it on the collection on the PlayStation 4, so it's great to own my own copy of that. We also have the full version of Gran Turismo 5, which of course is an amazing racing game. And maybe slightly less amazing racing game is Little Big Planet Karting. Have no idea about this one. Let me know whether it's any good or not down in the comments. We have the original Assassin's Creed. I played Assassin's Creed 2 back in the day, but I never played the first one, so that's kind of interesting to have. Also, the original Uncharted. Again, for whatever reason, I don't seem to have my original copy. This is a game that I used to have, so anyway, I've got it again now. And to go along with that too, there's another Uncharted game, Uncharted 2. The next game we've got here is Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands. I've never actually played any of these 3D Prince of Persia games, but I've heard they're really good, so I will definitely check them out at some point, especially the first three that came out on the PlayStation 2. I've heard those are some of the best. We also have Batman Arkham City, which again is another game I've never played. Don't judge me. And the last one is the God of War collection, the HD collection, with God of War 1 and God of War 2. I have played the first God of War game and I really enjoyed it, but I've never played the second one. So there's a bunch of really cool games there for the PlayStation 3, and to get them all for 50p each was just amazing. So it's really cool when you stumble across games like that you didn't even know you were expecting to buy, and then you come home with a big stack of games, and they're probably just going to sit on the shelf over there. But maybe in the future at some point I'll play them, because there are some gems in there. Anyway, to go along with Prince of Persia, My parents actually picked this up for me. They've just been on holiday in Spain and they got this in a game shop, an actual game like the purple logo game that barely exists in the UK anymore. They actually found a few of them in Spain and they picked up Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which is a game that I've wanted for quite a while now. It's basically a Metroid Dread style Metroidvania but in the Prince of Persia series. Really can't wait to check this one out. I've heard very good things about it. And another modern game here that I also got recently that I've played a little bit of. I've played the first few stages of the regular Generations game. This is Sonic and Shadow Generations. The Shadow part being a completely separate game, a completely brand new story with new levels. Can't wait to check that out. Hopefully I'll be able to check it out on stream. I've been having a lot of technical issues, but they're almost all sorted now. I got myself a new computer, so as you'll see in this will be the first video that I've actually edited on my new computer, and I can't wait to put it through its paces. I got an M4 Max MacBook Pro, and I think it's going to be amazing for the channel, and I'm almost finished getting everything set up, and I could not be more excited. There's some really big projects coming in the future that this computer is going to allow me to do, so definitely subscribe if you want to see what is in the pipeline for this channel, because I'm so excited to get started on it. Let's see what else we've got here. We have Tetris Plus for the Sega Saturn. This one I picked up from MCM Expo, I think, at the end of October. Really great game. In fact, my favourite Tetris game, but I never actually owned the Sega Saturn version. I only ever had the Japanese version on the Saturn, so it's great to own the official PAL version of the game as well. And I'm very much looking forward to playing the Tetris History game, which came out yesterday. And as you can see, I've got my Tetris shirt on as well, and I'm actually going to go and download that straight after recording this video. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and I might even do a review on the channel. Let me know in the comments whether you'll be interested in seeing my thoughts and opinions about Tetris Forever, and maybe I'll do a video. And now let's move these games out of the way because I've got something very exciting to show you next. So, for those of you that don't know, Rocket Knight Adventures is my all-time favourite game on the Sega Mega Drive. So when Limited Run announced that they were doing a special edition for the game and the sequel, which again is one of my favourite games ever made, I had to get the special edition, and not only that, I also got a bunch of other stuff alongside it. So let me show you now everything that came with this amazing collection. So the first thing here is this amazing Sparkster plush, based off his design from the first game, complete with a jetpack on the back and his tail there, and then moving around the front you've got his goggles, and he's even got whiskers as well, although the ones on this side of his face don't quite stay in the right position. I think it was maybe squashed during shipping, so I might try and like iron them to get them to stay at the right angle. And then he's also got his sword right there as well, which actually has something hard inside it to stop it from bending, which is really cool. So absolutely love this. He's one of my all-time favourite game characters, so it's so cool to own this, and I will definitely sit him on the shelf back there, so you'll see him in future videos. I also got these pin badges here. As you can see, there's one there from Rocket Knight at the top, and there's one there for Axel Gear at the bottom. We have the game as well, obviously, which comes in this oversized box, kind of like an original Mega Drive box with the tab at the top, except it says Resparks on there, and it also included a bunch of other things, such as, let's see what else we've got, this Certificate of Authenticity. This is number 162 out of 1,400, so there's not actually that many of them out there in the wild, so it's so cool that I've got one. Here's the game itself, and I actually haven't played the game yet on the Switch. I'm going to save it until I can do a stream, so there it is. And it also comes with a full colour instruction booklet, which also includes a comic, but this edition actually included a full-size version of the comic here, so I haven't looked at this yet either, so let's open this up and we can have a look at the artwork in here. I think this is based off an original comic that was maybe in Nintendo Power or something, or Sega Power, whatever Sega's equivalent was. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it's really cool to have some official story for the Rocket Knight series as well, because the Rocket Knight games aren't really known for their storytelling, so it's cool to get a bit of background. It also came with an original soundtrack for all three games, and if we open it up you can see how it looks inside with the two different CDs in there. And disc 1 features the Genesis games, so Rocket Knight and Sparkster Genesis, and then disc 2 features all the Super Nintendo songs. And then the next thing we've got here is a poster. Let me just fold this out for you. So, we'll move back a bit. We have that on this side. And then on the other side we have the original artwork, except it says Resparked at the top. That is really cool. I really want to put it up somewhere, but I'm very much lacking wall space. What else do we have? We have a design document booklet, which I thought was really interesting. This actually goes through some of their original designs and even interview sections from all of the first 3 games in the series. You've got enemy designs, you've got character designs, you've got level layouts, some background artwork. Really great stuff. Definitely going to sit down and read this later. There was also a steelbook. There was a lot of stuff in here. There's a steelbook with the Sparkster design on that side and the original Rocket Knight design on that side, which is really cool. And if you open it up inside, it's got this really nice Mega Drive style portraits in there too. And there was also this, which is a really cool, like, framed display piece. Very reflective, obviously, so I don't know how much you'll be able to see on the camera. But it has the Mega Drive games at the top there, and it has the SNES game there, and a little kind of badge thing that says Resparked as well. So I will definitely be putting that up on the shelves somewhere. So that was the Rocket Knight Adventures Resparked collection from Limited Run. I did also get a t-shirt alongside it as well, but I think it's in the wash at the minute. But I think I took a picture of it, so I'll put it over the screen here. And that's it for this pickups episode. Hope you enjoyed having a look at all of the cool stuff that I've got recently. If you want more pickups, then check out last episode up there, and I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye. Now I'm off to go play Tetris.